Super.
Okay. Hey, onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
We should start with one thing, which is just a body scan before we actually start. We should do this actually every morning. We maybe do. We'll see how it goes. But I don't spend too long on it. But just stand. The main thing is don't try and change anything, which is easy to say, hard to do. But just we'll start with like a body scan. Just go from the feet. So just start. Feel the feet down, the toes and the bottom of the feet and the heels. Just notice them, just let them settle into the ground. Take it up, start to go up the lower leg, the shin, the calf, and the knees and the thigh. And then back of the leg, and go up into the hips, into the torso, back of the body, back of the spine, up into the rib cage, and the torso, the chest. Go down the right arm, that's into the shoulder, the bicep, and your elbow, forearm, wrist, hand, fingers. Just feel the whole right side of the arm, the whole right arm. And then just go down the left, so into the shoulder, bicep, elbow on the left side, forearm, hand, wrist, fingers. And just feel the whole left arm, one piece. And the neck, the face, back of the head, top of the head, and feel the whole head, one thing. And then just try and feel both arms, one feeling in the body, both arms, and then both legs. And then just get a sense of the whole body, just feel where it is in the space. Any sensations going on? Okay, nice and good. And then just start to take the body into a pulse up and down. Make the breath a little bit deeper. A couple of nice full deep breaths in and out. Try and really release the upper body, especially the arms. Really allow this movement to come from the lower body, especially the ankles. Keep the knees soft. Just let the hips settle onto the feet. Nice one line. And show the position of the head, relationship to the hips, and the feet. And just going to create one nice lengthened line up from the ground, top of the head. And try and get a sense of the space above the head, so extend it into the ceiling. And then just keep the breath nice and full. And just slowly start to take the arms up, so really slow, inch by inch. Centimeter by centimeter. Let them go up, off to the sides. Keep that sense of the vertical line as you go. And allow the hips to just find the feet. Head just above the head, above the rib cage. And just let them come down again. Nice, slow movements. Just do one more nice and slow. Releasing the arms up. Keep that pulse going. Up to the ceiling. And just notice the head. Tips of the fingers pointing towards the ceiling. Tips of the toes in the ground. Just let it back down. And just release out the arms a little bit, let them come up and down. Keeping the elbow and the wrists and the fingers really releasing. think a little bit kind of widening the shoulders out as well, so working the vertical direction, but with the plane of the sides of the body opening up as well. And then just play with just slight rotations of the shoulder blade and the hands, thumbs out basically, thumbs in. Just let them just gently open out. Think of like an anatomical skeleton, kind of opening it out, the arms, and drawing them in. Just trying to keep the spine nice and neutral as you do it. So, and then just let the arms start to come a little bit out to the back, so they're going to start to go a little bit in that direction. Keep that pulse going. Arms go a little bit to the back, and so a little bit out to the front, and just let the kind of thumbs lead it, so you kind of thumbs out, thumbs around, the kind of wrapping. And if you can just keep that pulse going gently through the ground. So let the arms stay naturally tensioned, so not adding any tension, just the movement. Lengthening the joint. And try and keep the spine as neutral as you can. Notice, especially if you go to the back, the spine might start to bend. Just keep it lengthening. You think about the tailbone and the back of the neck, and a little lengthening gently away from each other. And again, keep the breath nice and full. Do that, use it to kind of expand open the body. And you start setting kind of maximum reach, to kind of extending out to the corners, the bottom corners of the room. And then as you come up, extend into the top corners of the room. You can really include the fingers now as you do it, so you're extending through the whole joint. And then back. Yeah, just keep that pulse going if you can. Step you, open it out. And roll back. Good, and just opening the arms out to the side, so think about pressing the walls apart. Think about the palms being the maximum distance they can be at. Using the breath a little bit too. Open, expand. Release it up. And think about spreading the hands, the fingers away from each other. As you do it, keep the palms pressing away, gently, gently. And then think a little bit like the fingertips are kind of pulling towards your ear. So they're drawing in, as you press out. And if you can, just keep that pulse going gently into the ground. Keeping the spine neutral, lengthening, spreading out the shoulders. And do nice deep breaths as you do it. Good. Just release them. Do the same. Fingers down. Spread the palms out first. And then think of lengthening the spine. Keep the pulse going. Press the palms out. And then think about spreading the fingertips away from each other. Spreading the fingers. Including the thumb. And then a little bit like you're pulling the fingers towards your armpits, towards the ribs. Good, and then just let them go. You release out the elbows, shoulders. And then just play with the kind of front back direction of the shoulders, kind of curling to the collarbone, opening, squeezing the back. Just keep that pulse gently going if you can. Think about basically the movement with the elbows, bringing the elbows together as close as they can, and then pulling the elbows back close as they can. Good. Great. And just have to roll them out a little bit. And just keeping the pulse going. Gently. Nice big movements. Changing the direction. The elbows out. Add a little bit as you go to extension. Just allow the arm to slightly tension. So again, not adding it. As if you're doing it through a kind of heavier, slightly heavier substance of the extended parts, a little bit more weight to it. And kind of what I'm doing in this case is slightly tight, slightly tensing the fist as I do it. So you can think about kind of releasing the hands, and then as you go into the extension, finding the fist, just add a little bit of tensioning down the arm. You might find the pulse starts to change. Right, and then go the other way, lengthen it out. Then as you extend out, a little bit of tension. Then. So it means rolling through the fist a little bit. That's it. Okay, perfect. We'll go into a little bit of rotation mode, so just settle that pulse down. Think of that pulse that you had this one, just going into the ground, going into the ground. So allow the hips, the knees to release towards the back. You could do this a few ways. You could just you rotate and get to the back and lengthen again. But just think about dropping into the ground. That spiral basically from the core, releasing down. And as you do it, again, just add a little bit of tension through the shoulders into the elbow. Just allow the head to follow the elbow. Just like that. And if you want to, you can make this a little bit more ballistic, a little bit of a bounce to it in and out. Just this feels comfortable. Great. Good. Look on the sides of the body, just reach up. Oh, keep this hip down in this one. You can release out that foot, you can do that way. But in this case, just think about keeping this hip and this foot in the ground. So you reach out gently, pull down into the hip here. Lengthen that whole side of the body away. Nice and easy. Don't hold it, just keep going with it. Keep going with it. And just gently release it. Press, find the foot, find the hand, and then just sink into the ground as you go over. All the way over. Nice deep breath out as you do it. Just release your way out of it. Right. Deep down, find the foot, reach in. Lengthening the whole side of the body. Gently drawing the body through it. Side. And one more time each side. This one. Great. And just go into the hips. Keep the feet flat. And keep them down as much as you can. Think about mobilizing the hip and the ankle as you do it. So the knees just softening. Really mobilizing the hip. Keeping the foot in contact. Mobilizing the ankles as well. And just play with one thing here, which is you can keep the head in the center by basically resting by the base. You can also mobilize the head as well as you do it. Be careful as you do this, especially if it's cold. You feel it. The spine's not so warmed up yet, but if you like, with slightly mobilizing the head as you do it as well. Great. And going back to the center, change direction. Either way. And again, if you want, just isolate the hip work the hip joint. If you feel it nice and loose, know about so that the movements are coming out the hip as well. Great, good. We go to the feet. Just bringing the toes together. Gently bend in. And just coming down a little bit deeper. Lengthening up the back. If you want to increase it slightly, you can bring the toes up just towards the face, off the ground. Gentle pressure back with the hip. Again, don't force anything, just use the position to gently bring the body to tension. And coming down a little bit deeper. Great. Stretching back up. The last one, coming all the way down. Bring the hands into the floor. If you can, palms into the floor. You can't just the fingertips to spine. Just lengthen. Shoulders down. And then keeping the hands in the ground, press into the hands, pull the legs up long, lengthen up the legs as much as you can. Release out the shoulders. Release the knees and hips. Gentle movements. Nice deep breaths as you do it. Good, bending the knees, let the hands trace up the legs. As the ankles up, just press one foot into the ground, roll out one way. Roll out the other way. And then nice and gently just folding the toes underneath. Not a lot of pressure or not a lot of weight. So just focusing on the big toe. Pull it back, just the ball of the foot, gently. It can stomp down into the ground. Good, just bring the foot off the ground. Just think about spreading the toes away from each other. Or the best is think about the little toe and the big toe pulling away from each other so you can end up as much as you can, making the foot wide as you can. Good, and then think about pointing the toes up. Point the foot out, curl the toes, move it underneath. And then again, spreading little toe away from the big toe, like that. Pointing and curling. And then spreading. And pointing. Great. Shake it out a little bit. Place that leg down. A little bit of weight. Roll out the other ankle. And the other way. Good. Folding the toes underneath. Gently. And impacting down with the big toe, the base, hold the foot. bring off the ground, spread the big toe a little away. And point and curl. Spread. Big toe away from the little toe. And point and curl. Good spread. And point and curl. Good. Shake it out a little bit. And last one, just kind of pulsing the big toe now. So think about just spreading the toes down to the ground, raising the big toe off the ground. If you can, or if you can't, just play with it. Wiggle your big toe. Press the toe into the ground and just pulse it down. Press it down, bring it up. Press it down, bring it up. Try and keep your other four, I always want to say fingers, your other four toes in the ground. Just pulsing it out, up and down. And then do the opposite. Press the ball of the ball of the big toe, the ball of the foot into the ground. Press the big toe into the ground. Just let the other toes raise. And then just think about spreading them down into the ground, keeping the big toe pressured into the ground and really press it in. And then just pulse your other toes into the ground. You might feel it's kind of easy in a way to do that with the foot. Try and avoid doing that. Try and keep the foot down. Just think about raising the other toes out. And then just pull all the toes up, big toe included, pull them up. Sink a little bit of weight back into the heel. And just play with rolling the ankles up. Big base of the big toe, the ball of the foot and the outside edge of the little toe. Just roll between those 2 points. So with weight settling back. Good. Good. And then we'll just play with raising up onto the toes. Hold it a little bit. Knee bend, settle back and go to the heel. Pull the toes up again. And just cycle between these two positions. Stretching up into the toes. Bend the knees down. Let the foot find the ground. Settle back into the foot. And just make it as fluid as you like. Or static as you like. And hold on the top. Hold at the bottom. Good. Good. Okay. Just spread the legs out a little bit. Shoulder 11 go out to the corners. Spread the hips down. Just press into the knees a little bit. Think about lengthening the spine. So allow the lower back to curl a little bit. Yep. And then think about curling it up. So you're just going to kind of mobilize the spine. Think about like cat-cow position. You'll do a bit of yoga. Open the back, curling. You can think about 2 points through. You can think about the tailbone, kind of tucking and untucking, or you can think about the head, kind of opening out. Think about basically the crown of the head, pointing to the floor as you curl in, and then pointing to the ceiling as you come out. Pointing to the floor as much as you can, and pointing to the ceiling. So you think about, again, lengthening both directions. So lengthening as you curl tends to be a kind of compressive movement, but think about lengthening the back of the body. And then open, lengthen up the front of the body. Open out. And allow the breath to be big, or just allow it to follow the movement. Great. Good. And then with that length, just think about getting a little bit of pressure into the feet, into the legs. Press the elbow away, lengthen through the arm, and rotate through. Again, nice deep breaths as you do it. You probably want to release the breath as you go out. But just experiment with the breath as you do this. The main things about creating space, creating length. Great. And then just allow, if you can, let the hand go as far down the leg as you can comfortably. Release up the other arm. And just do this a little bit dynamically. So reach up to the ceiling, and then as you release it, it goes back to the foot. So you're tracing all the way up the arm, back and down. Yeah. Just go as far as you can come through with it. If it means just being at the knee, it's fine. That's a nice stretch. If you can, let's go a little bit deeper with the hip. Okay, good. And then changing sides. Find the ankle, find the knee, wherever you're comfortable with. Just trace up and down the arm. You're opening the torso again. Let the breath be nice and full, and let it follow the movement. Perfect. Good. And then come back, just loosen out the hips a little bit, keeping both knees bent. And then settling the weight towards one side, let the other leg lengthen. Think about lengthening down the inside of the hip. The leg. Let the body go as low as you feel comfortable. Let the weight settle really into that bent leg. Great. Good. Bringing the toes up one side. And shifting over. And lengthening both legs. Find the hips. Hands round about level with the shoulder or the chest. Just first lengthen through the back. So think about making one line of the back, tailbone, to the top of the head. And then from the hips, allow the hip to crease, fall towards the ground. If you can, allow the forearms into the ground. The head might be able to come down into the hands. If you feel comfortable with it, go as low as you can. Nice deep breaths. Hold for a couple of deep breaths. If you feel comfortable here, release the hands from the ground. Bring the hands up over the back of the head. Lengthen the arms out, shoulders out to the back. Think about pulling the fists or the hands over the head towards the floor. Couple of deep breaths. You've got the hands over, just release them back. Find the ground with the fingertips. Keep the hips where they are, just lengthen the arms out to the front. So you're just going to walk them forwards. Walk them forwards, just until you've got the fingertips facing the ground. Yeah, think about creating length down the whole spine. Tailbone to the fingertips. With the head in between. Couple of deep breaths. Lengthen through the back of the legs. Great. Just shift the weight forward onto the hands. Bring the legs together at the back. And then just pulsing down the heel, shredding with the feet at the back. And the weight in the hands. Good. Bring one foot forward. Just lengthen into it. One hand down. Bring that leg back. And swing. And down the back of the leg. Great. Find both hands. Bring both legs back. Press both feet back towards the ground as much as you can. Press through the hands lengthen through the hip. And nice and gently walk the hands back to the feet. Lengthen the body down, body towards the legs. If you want to, you can take the ankles with the hands and just gently draw the body. Also head towards the feet and the legs. One deep breath in. And as you breathe out, allow the knees to bend, body to come up. Great. Just shake out the wrist there. So just release the weight down into the ground. Release the wrist. Bring the arms down, slight incline of the body forwards, release out the shoulders. Let the body incline a little bit more. Let the arms really release. Towards the ground, let the head release towards the ground. Try and feel this whole upper body releasing. Slowly drawing them back. Back up to the top. And release out of the legs. Keep them out of that. Good. And just take back into the whole body pulse. Then just feel the whole body. You're going to add a little bit of a deeper pulse down. Try and feel the whole space as well. So try and feel that the movement you make like kind of ripples out. Feel the whole space. And include in that the top of the head, the ceiling, and the back also. And reach your movement really fully into the space. Great. Good, great. And just let the body settle. Good. Okay, we're doing some jokes. So take your joke, please. Great. So we'll work with the 𝗧𝗔𝗞𝗜𝗏𝗏. We're just trying to look through the first 5. So we'll do them first in a kind of Kihon way, or really in a very clear way. The first, especially the first 2, we tend to do these straight away into kind of one movement. But just for today, think about doing them in 2, which is basically coming into Kamae here, settle into the Kamae, settle that position, and then press the body in to the ski, and then take your time drawing back, find the base. So you've got kind of 3 positions in this case. You've got this very neutral position, arms are released, and then you're engaging into the Kamae, to the ski Kamae. And then the third position is where you're really engaged into the strike, and then pulling back to neutral. So just really make a distinction in these postures of the body. Very neutral, loading into the Kamae. You're ready like it's kind of tight spring, spring, and then you'll launch into the ground. And here you want to feel really big, really open, really settled. So these 3 postures, lots of technical points with them, but the main thing is actually the kind of energetic aspect of it, which is really trying to understand the point of those movements. What is the body? What are you expecting the body to do in those movements? First one, really calm, neutral, engaged, open, but calm. And loading into the body, finding the ground, finding the joke, and then releasing it out into the strike. And then you're pulling back to reach over. Just into a few. Yeah, the main issue with all weapon work, everything we do, especially using the arms, is not to be pulled up and out. So notice this when you do the Jo work. But it's especially true with the Jo work. As you do it, think about what will happen if I do something like this, and the body kind of pulls up, and then I need to settle. think about as you go into this into the kamae, think about sinking below. So you're basically already with the ground. I'm slightly sliding the feet just to emphasize that. You actually want to kind of pick them up, but have the sense that the weight's basically settling down, and then settling down, and then release it back into that neutral position. So just think about doing it with the ground, all the movements, and bring the ground with you. But notice the tendency with, especially with Joe work, is to get pulled up and into the front. Try and start with the down direction, which is always going to be the priority for these movements. Okay, good. Just like deep, settled, heavy body. Boom. Yeah, great. Very nice. Great. Good. And then just make it fluid, so you draw the whole body through those movements, but they're going to not be fixed positions now. So as you go in into the ski, so you're finding the ground, you're finding the back hip within this first movement. So this, find the hip, and then go into it there. So that becomes really a fluid, flexible motion now. And especially 1 and 2. First two really need to be one smooth motion. We're generally expecting, if when we apply these movements, to be applying these against one strike, and it would tends to be a ski. So I need to basically find the ski within the space of a very fast attacking space. So I need the whole body to be mobilizing into the strike. Basically can't leave anything behind, everything needs to go on movement. Just try a few here, just with the eyes closed. So it's useful. I think all martial arts movement eventually they really need to come down to touch sensation. So I need to basically be able to do it blind. So try it. You can do it with like eyes half closed, or just fully close them, but really feel the difference it will make between doing the movement where I really don't do it with touch, in which case I'm kind of looking, maybe picking the jaw up, all these kind of things. And then just close the eyes, let them go, and do it through touch. Basically. How would that change the way I use the hands in relationship to the jaw as well? That's the main thing you're looking for. But just play with a few. Basically doing it blind, but you're not doing it really blind. You're doing it with touch. That's what your main kind of sensations, or that's your main tool to use. Very nice. Good. Great. Okay, good. We'll go to number 2. Again, just split the movement up. I know we normally do it really with one motion, but find the kamae in this case. So you're here. You've got a different way to get to the kamae now. So you've got this motion, and you've got a very, very, very similar, but the front hand now is reversed. So just notice the difference as you do that. The key thing with this one is this shoulder wants to kind of over rotate as you go into it. So focus as you do this on that reverse grip and settling this arm back into the body. So you've got this sealed, and then you're going to go into the ski. Again, notice the tendency as you go into the ski for this arm to want to roll forward. Feel that's happening, and just think about rolling back into it. Don't worry about this hand. Some people say teach this as a kind of, I need to be like really tight onto the jaw, and it's kind of true, but you don't want that at the expense of something happening, which is going to kind of pull the shoulder. So don't worry too much about the grip in the front hand. The actual grip or the power is actually in the back of the hand. And that front hand, yes, is applying a little bit of focus, but you don't want to focus on being like, I need to really find the grip at the expense of the rest of the body. So just split it, find the kamae, find the ski, pull yourself back. Nice, calm movements, and just notice what's happening as you do those, go through those positions. You have a different feeling in each one. The first position is calm, neutral. You're engaging the body in, and then you're releasing out of the ski. And pulling back into it. I think look at this now together. The main issue with this one is that the arm wants to go first, find it, and then do it. And when I do teach this on seminars, I get this a lot. That yeah, but we saw Saito Sensei do this in 1992 or something like that. And he said yes, he probably did, and he was probably in a seminar with like 200 people who had no idea what they were doing, and he was just trying to get them to put the hand on the jo this way, not this way. So he was trying to get them to do that, and then do this, and then do this. Try and do it together. So try and, again, if you're thinking about doing this as against an attack, if I've got someone thrusting at me, and my first move is to grab the jo and not move the body, I get hit every time. So there's what teachers did in whatever, 92 or something, and there's what actually works. I prefer to do what actually works. Think about, as you do this, think about the whole body going in the motion. And my key concern is basically, can I mobilize the whole body into the movement? And that includes the jo. If the jo is an extension of my body, I need to be mobilizing the jo through the movement. So do it slowly, but notice the tendency to do something like that, and the jo does nothing. Really bring the jo in to the movement. So the jo should be mobilizing as well. It shouldn't be stuck. And then I'm moving. So just play with it a little bit. It means doing probably a little bit slower. Just go to the speed where you can basically keep it all in one motion. Yeah, good. Nice, great. Yeah, very nice, very nice, very nice. Good. Okay, we'll do number 3, the third degree, which is 𝘱𝘰𝘪𝘏𝑔. It's going to the back. So we generally do this in 2 moves anyway, so we'll do it this way. Just make sure you've got space behind you do it. You're going to be left foot forward, same start. This time you go thumb up onto the top of the jo. You change the back foot and you find the forearm, the inside of the forearm with the jo. The idea with this is a setup to get the jo basically working on one line, and then you're going to take the left foot, press it back, and find this onto the rib. It runs through the same kind of coordination work as the jo, the previous 2. The jo's just going backwards basically, and I've finished the ski basically in this kind of position. It's the same position, or the same kind of arrangement that I would make here in terms of the hand being basically in level with the hip and the shoulder. It's just you're in this position, so you're going down with the strike in this case, but it's the same target. It would be for the solar plexus. So 𝘱𝘰𝘪𝘏𝑔 to start with. And just let the body, let the head follow the movement. And again, you're doing something a little bit different in this case in terms of the vision. You're striking to the rear, and I'm just allowing the body, or I'm just allowing the strike to just release backwards. So the main things I don't want to do are something like this. I'm kind of turning, looking, and then doing something like this. You could do that, but in this case, just think about the strike basically being released backwards. You don't really need to look backwards to strike. So just let the body go back, let the head follow the spine. Then, yes, sure.
Do you extend your left arm completely, or is there still a slight bend? Because I have a bend in my arm.
Yes, still a slight bend. If you think about it, I'm basically doing the same kind of things I'm doing here. Where I get a slight bend, and in this case, very difficult to show. Very slight bend through the arm. And I think about how we use this movement, or when we use this dynamic. I think about basically it's 𝘏𝑰𝑦𝘐𝑛𝑦 work. It's basically this kind of work where I want to be basically with that kind of structure out of the arm. And if I'm in like, well, let's say if I'm in that kind of position, I'm basically locking the body up basically through that. So I want that kind of position. The main thing is think about the front of the shoulder, or listen to the front of the shoulder. And yeah, if you notice, like if I'm cramped there, which is going to cause that, or I'm kind of lengthening out, which is going to cause that. I want something which is like that, which I kind of go back to the body work in a sense that I want something kind of fluid.
Again, this practical.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Power this, because that will pull back the shoulder, the elbow.
It's also that first movement. It's also like settling there, like that. It's like I feel like that packs in. I think like a like a chicken wing. You're like a chicken wing when you come onto the bed, and it's just that, and then I think about like opening the chicken wing. So it's that, and then you're like, boom, it goes like something like that. So it's like that, but I'm thinking about like that part of the body, like close, and then I'm thinking about boom, opening. That's a bit tight, but in that case, that first position is really useful, because if I don't close it, I'm basically open. I'm open, and then I just kind of push the arms back. So I think about these as like opening, or in this case, closing the body, and then opening, expanding it out. And the more I kind of close, the more I kind of open as well. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, cool. Yeah, good. You get the main issue with this one is the hands want to do it. So you might find something like this, as the hands come out, and then I pull back to the body. Think as you do this, think about this motion back. So it's basically a motion, again, primarily down. I'm trying to find the ground down, and then I'm trying to find that position. And it's basically a setup so that I can just go back with the body. We use this footwork all the time when we do things like this kind of roll back in the kill. Now, I don't want to do something like this where the arms come forward and then I can pull the body back. So you're basically developing an ability for the body to just roll back. So if you feel that as you do this movement, the hands start to pull you forward, just allow the body to just separate, find the ground, pull the body back this way. Think a little bit like someone's behind me pulling my t-shirt, and they pull me, I want the whole body to go. I don't want to then pull me, and then I get pulled. I get pulled back anyway. So just allow the body to be back, basically. That's the first two ski, you're basically just allowing the body to go forward, and then the third is the sheer ski, you're allowing the body to just go back. It's kind of two simple dynamics. And simple, but not really easy to do. Not easy to work with. Good. And then if you're comfortable with this one, comfortable with your balance, just allow it to be one motion. Again, just be careful of things behind you. Think about, you're still going to find the forearm, so same pattern, find the forearm, and then extend out. So there is a kind of short form with this, in which case you would just take the jaw back. But in this case, make it a little bit longer, so you still find the forearm, the setup, and then find the ski. Then you want to mobilize everything, and again, that includes the jaw. So whole body mobilizes, whole body mobilizes, whole body mobilizes. And if you want, you can stay with it broken down. Spend a long time with this one because it's a much more difficult movement. Nice. Okay, good. So we'll look at 1, 2, and 3. Do them in any order. You can do them in the order 1, 2, 3. You can do them in however you like, or you can spend a bit of time on 3 or 2 or whatever, whichever one you want. When you focus really on the shoulders, open up. So the great thing about jaw work is that you're really using this motion of the body, and you can really use it to open up this sideline of the body. Especially if you spend a long time with Bokken work, you might notice the body starts to close in that direction, so everything starts becoming kind of tight. So I use the jaw work especially to open up this side of the body, this angle of the body. So as you do these, this position as well, so that they're kind of widening the shoulder. Now notice if the hand goes, you start to kind of close this direction. So as you do these motions now, think about just keeping this full all the time, full all the time. And it really requires the whole shoulder, the kind of shoulder complex really needs to be open and released. It can't be tight because it's just going to close everything down. So play with 1, 2, and 3, but again, really focusing on the sense of width through the body and maintaining it all the time. And each one gets a little bit more complex to do, especially 3. It tends to kind of close down. Think again about width, opening it out this way. So width between the shoulder blades. 1, 2, or 3, or you can do them in that order. Spend a bit of time with 1. 2, 7. And then just play with 1 point of focus. If you can see yourself, better to do this. If you've got a mirror or you've got a reflection or use the camera and zoom, play with one thing, which is the 𝘗 basically just follows this line. So what I don't want to happen in this case, something like the 𝘗 does all these kind of things, and then it finishes like offline. The other things to look for is that the 𝘗 goes forward and the forearm gets stuck out, something like this. So I get that position, and then the kink happens in the forearm. If you think about doing this when I'm striking something and I receive pressure into a kind of kinked joint system, all the pressure goes to where the kink is, which would generally be the wrist, destroys the wrist. So as you do this, focus on again slow, 1 line, and let the forearm a little bit out there. So I want the forearm, the elbow, the tip of the 𝘗 to be 1 line. So the feeling in this case, what I think about is like the 𝘗 is growing out of my forearm, out of my hand. So play with it. Again, if you can see yourself better, it's difficult to kind of check this with the head, looking at yourself, but it's easy to do it again to the camera or to reflection. Just don't hit the mirror. Yeah, that's it. And each one's a little bit more difficult. So the first one's quite easy to find. Number 2's a little bit tricky to find. And then number 3 is kind of the hardest one because you're also going backwards with it. 2, quite tricky to find that position. 3, really quite tricky to find that length. Tricky. Good. Okay, just spend a couple of minutes, just a few breathing exercises to finish it. You're going to use the 𝘗, and you're going to be quite loose with the grip. So the first one's like this, you just stand shoulder width apart, just play with coming up, reaching out, and allow the hands to split down the 𝘗. So nice deep breath in as you do it. And hands up towards the ceiling, and then release down with the breath. Let the hands come back together. You're going to work somewhere around the heart level, so somewhere around the chest. Yep. And just keep kind of light grip on the 𝘗. Raise up. Breathe up, and you can do it through touch. Just feel where the 𝘗 is. Nice deep breath in. Drawing back. Just looking for the balance on the 𝘗. Nice deep breath in. Spreading up. You might want to look up towards the ceiling. Nice big movement. And then back. Closing down. Go ahead and spreading the shoulders. Open up, might want to bend the back a little bit as you come up. Open out, back, come through. Good. Just do one down. So take the ends of the 𝘗 now. The fingers spread up to the top. Keep the shoulders kind of down. So try and avoid this. Roll the shoulders back. Just find the top of this position. Think a little bit about pulling the hands apart. And then let the 𝘗 come back down the back of the head. Take a deep breath out. And then as you breathe in, pull the arms up long. As you breathe out, come down. I'll do a couple here. Breathing in and up. Pull the shoulders back. A little bit of a pull apart. And drop the jaw down with the out breath. As far as you can comfortably. Breathing in. Now. Do one last one. Go like this. Rest the jaw on the arms like this. So it's just somewhere between the elbow and bicep. And just play with this. You're just going to roll the jaw down the body. Be careful in this case. Don't do this too fast. You might hit yourself in the face as you do it. So I think about a footballer when you used to like roll the ball down the shoulders and across the shoulders. So this kind of motion, maybe like a seaweed exercise with the jaw. So let the jaw just roll down the forearm. Do a little bit with the breath as well. So let the breath go. Let it kind of roll down the forearm. Think about releasing the shoulders so you get a little bit of tension in the shoulders. Just release it out as much as you can. If you want, you can take it up the shoulder. Somewhere there. Release out the shoulders again. Elbows, wrists, fingers, a couple of deep breaths. So. Good. And last one, just a little bit of pressure down. So take about shoulder width. Find the feet. Just gently press down. Try and activate the back. So notice the front of the body starts to go. Just lengthen down the back. Gentle pressure down. You can open the fingertips. You can keep a grip, however you like. Just a couple of deep breaths in this position. Use the breath again to release, create space, find the ground. One last breath. Okay, there we go. Great. We will have that. Right. どうもありがとうございます。
どうもありがとうございました。